I sat in disbelief as my daughter cried over her torn Belem top. It all happened so fast when the HOA president hit her with a clipboard. I never imagined our quiet suburb would become the scene of such chaos. I really think that talking to Mrs. Reynolds would spark this local mess? Even my husband, who works as a police commissioner, couldn't protect us from it. I can still picture the moment clearly. Living in Maplewood Gardens had always felt wonderful, but now my daughter Zoe stood at the front door, tears streaming down her face, clutching the sleeve of her Black Lives Matter t-shirt. She rushed into my arms, and I let the dinnerware I'd been carrying clatter to the table. I had so many questions. Who did this to you? What on earth happened? My heart raced as I noticed a red mark on her arm, right where Mrs. Reynolds had grabbed her. Zoe explained through sobs that Mrs. Reynolds had stopped her at the playground. She claimed Zoe was breaking rules by wearing that shirt. After confronting my daughter, Mrs. Reynolds had pulled her arm and hit her with that clipboard. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Zoe was just a 14-year-old, a student who had never been in trouble before. That shirt had been a birthday gift from my brother, a civil rights lawyer, and here was Mrs. Reynolds telling her children shouldn't spread misinformation in public. Zoe's voice shook as she described how Mrs. Reynolds took pictures of her and issued a formal warning. I quickly cleaned up the mess in the kitchen and called my husband Marcus. He faced tough situations every day as a police commissioner, but this felt different. He could hear the concern in my voice. By the time he got home, dinner was getting cold, and Zoe had already shared what happened. She talked about how Mrs. Reynolds had been watching her closely since she first wore that t-shirt. 2 other HOA committee members had stood nearby, nodding along as Mrs. Reynolds lectured her about community standards. Did anyone else notice?